What's up, brewskis? Look around. It's another set, and we're just going to keep on rocking in the free world as if this is what we meant to do, because this is what we meant to do.
Sure, yeah.
My name is Marco Dupa. With me, as always, the great, the powerful, it's Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
What's up, brewskis?
Tonight's brew is from the Whippoorwill, what do they call themselves? Tap House, I think?
Beer House.
Beer House. Thank you. Whippoorwill Beer House in collaboration with Sideward Brewing. It's their Lowland Hella Style Lager. And Obi's going to have a little bit more about that after the break. What's on tap for tonight? We got a little bit of something that we like to call trailer. And we'll get into all the trailers after the break. And then something else. I don't know.
A little thing called Copa de Mundial.
That's right.
You may know it as the World Cup.
Yeah. For you gringos.
We are stupid Americans. So, we're a little late to the game.
A little bit.
Literally. But we have some thoughts.
Yeah. We
have some thoughts on the footy, the footballs, and the soccer if you're here in the States. So stay tuned for that.
Right on. And without further ado, let's just get rocking on rolling. This is episode 374 of the One Beer In podcast.
Bring them out.
Lost to be found by someone to save you when you're down. Yes, I'm bored when it's bright out. So bored when it's bright out. 4 to 5 a.m.
Okay. This is
Takes me
the
to a
One
place
Beer
where I
In
feel
podcast. The podcast where two brews crack open a brew and we see where that one brew takes us. That brew has taken us, in fact, to back to the garage, actually. We have recorded an episode here before.
Inspired by Mark Maron.
And, I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of like the privacy of the space.
Sure.
I mean, it's a little, obviously, you guys can't see this, but it's a little...
Ramshackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with a little elbow grease and a little spit shine, I think this could actually be something worth our while.
Air conditioning, too.
Yeah, a little. We might need that. I mean, you are wearing a corduroy jacket.
Look, it's for the look.
It's a great jacket.
Thank you.
It's a nice olive color. I like it.
It's a shacket, if you will.
A shacket.
Yeah.
Shacket.
Yeah. Big fan of the shackets.
It's great.
Thank you.
It's great. If it got any colder here, it would be perfect.
Yeah. I can wear it for about a week.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for camera.
It's for you guys.
It's really hot, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
As I stated, my name's Marco Dupa. That's Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
Yeah,
this is the One Beer In podcast. And let's get rocking and rolling. Obi, tell the people what we're drinking tonight.
Well, as you so eloquently said, we have the Lowland Hellas Style Lager, a beer for any occasion. Unfortunately, we don't have a cold read on this one, but we do have a cold read of sorts going to Whippoorwill Beer House Instagram. A beer for any occasion. Lowland Hellas Style Lager, now available for easy drinking. Thanks to Sideward Brewing for brewing an instant classic. Thanks to Secret Society Goods for creating a label our granddad would be proud of. Cheers. They have beer, shirts, and hats. Just so you know.
I got the hat. I saw the hat, and I was like, I need that hat. I love that color. I think this is one of my favorite colors, if you couldn't tell by the shirt-hat combo. Sure. It's one of my favorite colors, like maroon.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it like a maroon?
Yeah.
I should say it is a 4.5% ABV.
Nice light guy. As they said, enjoy anywhere. I feel like, well, we'll talk more about it when we're done with this podcast.
Yeah.
All right, let's get ripping, rocking, and rolling. You want to start with the World Cup or with trailer trash?
Let's start with the World Cup. I feel like it's a bigger story. We have to come out the gates. We're already late.
I agree.
On the World Cup. The World Cup been going on since 1930. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I didn't know the exact year.
I did a Google search.
Oh, look at that.
Research.
How much corruption Did it start in 1930, or did it need a couple years before it got rolling with corruption?
All it told me was 1930, so
Oh.
it probably started from birth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to be gambling back then on it, right?
I mean, gambling on it, whoever is hosting it,
Uh-huh.
Bribing the organization
Sure.
to have them host it there.
Using slave labor,
Yeah, slave labor,
Mhm.
amongst other things. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, we're not here to litigate the
We are here to pass judgment.
Yeah,
I
that's
will
right.
say that.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's what we do.
So I feel like us as Orlandoans,
Orlandoians.
we're a little doughy, so that's what we want.
Orlandoians.
We've been kind of catapulted into the sport of football,
Football.
of the old soccer.
Mm.
Thanks to our local team.
That's right.
Yeah, Orlando City Soccer.
Yeah.
So I feel like they really set the stage for us to be really big soccer fans here.
Mhm.
And I think the people who are already on the fence about soccer as a professional sport were kind of pushed into it because, it's right here.
Mhm.
You might as well give it a shot.
Right.
And I will say, you can back me up. Going to a match, going to
Get
a
the
match,
terminology right. This is gonna
seeing
be
the pitch,
Uh-huh.
it's
It's gonna be a long one.
it's a great time.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
It is.
It's a
It
lot
is a
of
good
fun.
time. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Why am I talking like Donald Trump right now?
I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
They love it. They love me.
The best sport of all time.
I'm just saying they call it soccer. Here in the States, they call it soccer. It's called soccer. I don't know where else they call it, but they call it soccer here.
You're getting the gruff that you need for that.
Yeah,
That we
it's
talked about,
right.
the
It's-
gravel.
Yeah. I need more of it down here, but I don't want to come off doing this thing.
Yeah.
But you gotta. It's there.
It's a little bit. It's
I'm
a little
working
bit.
on it.
Yeah.
Believe me, 3 or 4 episodes later, you're gonna be like, "Where did that come from?" Like, yeah. It's because
Okay,
I've been
okay.
sitting in the mirror going.
Start a little Sylvester Stallone-ish, but anyway, I feel like we have a little edge as far as fandom of soccer in the States because we've had a relatively successful team and a good reason to enjoy the sport and see it live, where we didn't before then. And
Yeah.
I will say, wasn't really a big fan before MLS came to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I would consider myself generally a soccer fan. Do I follow it? Not much. I'll peep in and out of MLS just because, again, of proximity and enjoying actually going to the live sporting events.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not, I wouldn't say I have like a team outside of MLS, which, if you're not familiar, MLS is like pipsqueak compared to the larger leagues in Europe and Latin America.
Right. The irony of sport in this nation and our ego when it comes to sport, and that we are like looked down upon as like. I was actually talking to a friend earlier today, and she was like, "Yeah, I mean, guys go to MLS to retire,
Right. Yeah.
They get their big money check, and that's their last hurrah,
Right.
and that's where they go."
Yep.
And I was like, "Sick."
That's what happens. It's happened time and time again. And until the U.S. can really like start from the ground up as far as like getting talent from colleges and stuff and attracting younger talent from overseas, that's how it's always going to be, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyway, still exciting.
Yes.
I will say that, and that's what got me into the sport. And I will say I haven't really been following the World Cup, though.
Right.
And the only reason in the past that I have followed the World Cup is because of workplace betting. So whenever, you back a team, it gives you a reason to pay attention, right?
That it does.
So that's helped out before. But I won't say I'm a World Cup fan, and I don't know why that is.
Well, let's explore that.
Okay.
Let's explore that.
where are you coming from as far as the sport of soccer?
The sport of soccer, I get that it's a worldwide phenomenon, something that is, when you talk about like, Americans are so insulated with our sports because they're billion-dollar businesses, and we're like, well, if this thing can make $1 billion, each owner of a team, of an NFL team, is a billionaire, right? More or less.
Yeah.
How can anything be bigger than this thing?
Right.
This is America's pastime, and America is America, and America. And then you draw the shades on the insulation of your own home.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, there's an entire universe out there of people who don't give a flying fuck. Case in point, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
The highest follower count on Instagram, and by a wide margin too. I mean, I think he's in like the 200 millions. And you just, I don't know, you just would think like, yeah, maybe 50, 60 million. He's a popular guy. No,
Sure.
He's a popular guy.
Yeah. Worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so football is played in every corner of the planet,
Yeah.
more or less. And American sports are like, we're still doing outreach. That's why we have
Sure.
fucking
The
NFL
NFL.
games in England, and
Yeah.
like we're still drumming up interest.
Please enjoy this.
Yeah. Basketball, I think, is the closest thing that we can get to to something like soccer
It
in
is
its
a-
worldwide influence.
Yeah, it's an international sport at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that to say, I don't pay much attention to football. I don't watch the World Cup when it comes around. I'm on the outskirts of I'm on the periphery of paying attention to it. I listen to what people say. I read the articles. I see the upsets and stuff. It's fun. It's fun to keep up with. I understand the drama of it, especially if you have like a country that you're going for. I get that. But for me personally, just doesn't. So let's
Exactly. I want to unpack that by asking you, sir, why? Why don't you care?
I think, without having thought about this too much beforehand, because it's not like we brought this up to each other and then was like, think about your reasons. This is like just off the cuff.
Yeah.
So maybe I could have another reason later on. But just off the cuff, thinking, why is it that I don't go? Why is it that I don't pay more attention to the World Cup and just football in general? I think it's the vastness of it. And I say that because I know that that's the reason why I don't pay more attention to college sports, because the vastness of it.
Okay.
There's so many schools. There's so many. There's a lot. I hate to frame it this way, but there's a lot going on.
Say.
And in professional sports, you have 32 teams,
Sure.
right? You have 32 basketball teams. You have 30 NFL teams. You have, I don't know how many baseball teams, but I could name them all if you gave
Sure.
if I had to. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. You got the league. They're the best in the world. Everybody wants to play in this league.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the UFC. Sorry, the UFC. Like, you got Bellator, you got ONE, you've got the Pro Fighting League, you got blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, the one that stands head and shoulders above everything else is
UFC.
the UFC.
Yeah.
And so it's not very hard for me to keep up with each one of the divisions in
Sure.
the UFC. Whereas boxing, although I'm a lifelong boxing fan, there's so many guys. Like, you could watch Friday night fights for the rest of your life
Sure.
and see a new guy every week.
With a belt you didn't know existed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, super middle finger weight. Who is this guy? And why does he have
Giant middle
6
fingers.
belts? He's got the Stone Cold Steve Austin smoking belt, like the smoking skull belt.
Yes.
Like, where did he get that? Oh, yeah, he won a wrestling match, and now he's also boxing.
Super middle finger weight.
So it's I think the first thing that I think of is I am so, I guess, indoctrinated by American sports. And it's the vastness of it's a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
When the Olympics come around, it's very easy for me to go, all right, well, I want the Americans to win.
Sure.
But in something like the World Cup, like, the Americans usually aren't the best team. Not even like Not even fucking close.
Well, and you're stealing my shade here.
Oh no, go ahead.
Which-
Because I think I've made my point on.
The main reason, and I totally see your point in that, which it is true. It's something that you brought up when we're watching pro wrestling, and like they're getting too complicated with the belts and like the different specific belts for like every single minutia of what you could possibly win a belt for.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, where it's like, okay, where do I even like dip a toe at this point? Because, people in South America or in Europe, just for instance, are like lifelong fans. So they know all this just
Right.
inherently,
Right.
Right. So it's intimidating. It's I don't know. It's like a FromSoft game,
Right.
where it's like,
yeah.
I want to play this.
Sorry. It's so funny to use something that's just as niche.
Yeah.
But we get it,
We
and like
get
the
it.
audience
Maybe
would
you
get
get
it,
it.
maybe,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
But it's just somebody to use a niche thing,
Like a Dark
to
Souls
try to-
game, if that helps a little bit.
a little bit, I
Okay.
guess.
Like a really hard game, a really
Yeah.
hard, complicated game.
Yeah, and
Okay.
why people like to play those really hard, complicated.
It's because
games.
it's its own niche thing, and it's almost its own genre of game upon itself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that leads to a fervent fan base, but also leads to being a little exclusionary for newcomers.
Yeah.
Which obviously they're trying to stop. They're trying to get as many people to be into it as possible.
Yeah,
which,
it's to no fault of their own.
Absolutely not. No.
The outreach is there.
No, yeah, they're doing their thing, and I mean, FIFA alone is a big sign of that. It's because like I know people that aren't necessarily lifelong soccer fans will play FIFA because it's fun and addictive.
Yeah.
Which is another story. But
It's a good game, man.
yeah,
Always has been.
right. So, the onboarding is there. It's just such a daunting thing as an American to, especially like with our own, American sort of rah-rah, chest-thumping patriotism, that we want to root for an American team.
Right.
But we really can't, because all we have is the MLS teams.
Yeah.
Which is fun, and it's its own thing and deserves respect on its own. And, I'm sure that it's going to only get better from here. But, on the world stage, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And
The last time I remember really caring about the World Cup was the Landon Donovan team, because he was so vocal and so kind of famous, I guess.
Yeah.
He's a very front-facing guy.
Sure.
You saw him all over everything, and I honestly don't even remember how successful that team was.
Yeah.
So I just remember that guy was
Yeah.
like big.
Yeah.
He had the Wheaties box and everything.
Yeah, there are a few standout American soccer players that will do that from time to time. But, I feel like it's just, we're not quite there yet. And, I'm not saying that as like soccer isn't a good sport, because clearly it is. It's just, you have to refigure your mind to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you are celebrating the goal attempts, not just the goals.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Twitter erupts after the U.S. draws, right? Which they weren't supposed to do.
Right. That was a big deal.
That was a big deal.
Or so I read.
Yeah, right. But, of course, there's everyone who doesn't watch soccer saying, how can you watch a sport for an hour and a half and have nothing change by the end of it?
See, I see people saying that, and I don't know. I mean, I guess I've watched enough sports to understand that, like, that is part of each game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, basketball, you expect high-profile, high-scoring affairs, and when you don't get that, you go, oh, this was a defensive struggle, or their best player was out, or so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There's a reason for why a game isn't 120 to 125 or whatever, right? I mean, average score is like 110. But anyway, with different sports, you're supposed to take that into account. And it's always funny to me that people, and I think that this kind of gets me into my next point about the World Cup, is the people who, not everybody, but a lot of the people who tune into the World Cup are the same people who call football hand egg and don't and you know, they have all kinds of shit to talk about basketball, just American sports in general. It's those people who watch the World Cup because they're the same ones who like don't really understand it, or are the ones who are so fervent about it. And it's like, bro, where was you the rest of the year? It's not like soccer is a once every 2 or 3 year thing.
It's constantly going on.
Yeah, it's always going on.
Yeah.
You know?
In one way or another.
I don't know. It just bothers the shit out of me because like living in Orlando, for instance, like I've talked about this. Maybe I've talked about it on the show. I don't know. But the people who, you know, out of nowhere, we're football fans. We're going to go for Orlando City. We're going to show up. We're all purple and we're wearing the scarves and we're doing this, that, and the other thing. And finally, Orlando has a team. Orlando's had a team since 1984. It's called the Orlando Magic. You sons of bitches. Okay? You wanted a sport to go for. We have a professional team that's made it to the finals twice. And since the 80s. Not since the 60s, since the 80s.
Relatively new team.
It's a very new. It's one of the newest teams in the league. When you think about it, it's one of the first expansion teams. And it made it to the finals twice.
I remember the early Magic. I do.
Yeah.
You guys can't see it, but under the table, I'm doing the Donald Trump hand thing, and I don't know what's happening to me right now.
I mean, this is why DeSantis does it, because he's watched so much Trump that the body language and all this shit, he's like, oh, I get it. That's why he can illustrate his points a lot better when he's doing this.
Trump is a symbiote; it just absorbs into your body.
There's people like, you know, when you watch people's like body language and stuff, like some people have very it's like you know, there's something about it. It's easy to mock, but the more you mock it, the more it
you
just
incorporate it.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's like a curse.
You're just doing a lot of this, and the moment that somebody's like, "Are you doing a Trump impression right now?" and I'm just talking, that's when I have to kill myself.
Yeah.
So
okay, we'll wait for that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I get it. But that's the thing too. Excuse me.
This is okay. He didn't invent this. Okay. He didn't invent he invented the pulling it apart like it's a thread.
Father, Son, Holy
Spirit.
Yeah,
Father, Son, Holy. Yeah, that's all.
Sure.
But just illustrating your point with one of these.
Okay. All right.
I think that's fine.
All right. I'm gonna claim it back.
Well, because here's the thing. I read, or I guess this was part of a speech class that I took, which was very influential for me, by the way, in the speech class that I took in college. You don't point, right?
Right.
You don't want to point at people. Sure. Unless you're like really trying to illustrate a point, you point. But there should be a point to the point, right? Instead, you just switch it, right? Now you're talking to people.
Right.
You know, it's not accusatory. It's you just need to, this guy here. This guy right there.
Yeah.
You just switch it.
And
now it's a speech. It's not a rant. This is a rant.
And I actually picked that up from Disney casting and the military.
Right.
You know, when you're pointing in either of those, which are very much the same, you know, you point with the hand. You point with the hand. It's lighter. It's not like, look at that thing there.
Yeah.
Which can be offensive to some people or like too harsh.
Yeah.
You go, it's right that way.
That way.
You go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only person who can pull this off, Harrison Ford.
Oh, yeah.
He's the only person who can point.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's grown into his point.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
He's pointed his whole life.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. He's claimed the point.
He has.
If you point, you have to pay Harrison Ford.
You got to pay homage to Harrison.
But yeah, so the point that I wanted to make was that's only a even more of a reason why soccer is such an important sport is because there are people who take it so seriously and become so like rabid in their fandom. That's true across the world. That's why the World Cup is still so successful.
Definitely.
And soccer around the world is so successful is because like it just, even with our MLS teams, like it becomes such a passionate fan base. There's clubs and like, you know, ritual and singing and it's so much more than just the play on the field. It's about the community that it inspires, you know?
Yeah.
Which the only comparative sport I can think of in American sports is college football, which is
Yeah.
funny you mentioned that. It's so complicated. I think those two have a lot of parallels. So they all involve, singing and chants and
The pageantry
of it all and tradition and again, the complicated nature of it too.
A lot of tribalism.
Yeah. Which I think only breeds this extreme fandom.
Yeah.
To a toxic point at some points, but nonetheless an extreme form of fandom that you don't get with other sports.
Yeah.
But, you still do from time to time. You get a crazy fan, a fanatic, if you will. But I feel like that's fewer and far between.
Yeah.
With other sports.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I mean, part of it has to do with the fact that, like, in college, for instance, like, you don't have a lot of trades. There's no free agency. There's no.
You do now.
Well, you get players. Yes, now more so than ever in the history of college sports.
Yeah.
Have you had players changing programs?
Just hit the transfer portal.
But it's still a big deal right now.
Yeah.
Like in professional sports, like guys are chasing that check for better or for worse.
Sure.
And that's a whole other conversation. But with these so for the World Cup, for instance, it's the same thing as like the Olympics. Like I'm not going to trade to another country. Like
Right.
It's
I don't think
tribalism.
you can.
I don't think you can either. But it's a tribalism thing of like,
I'm Ecuadorian now. Sorry.
no matter what, I am representing my country, and so that's a big point of pride for a lot of people, especially people who grew up with soccer more so than American sports. If you grew up anywhere else, really, football is the biggest sport.
Yeah.
So it is, in essence, the same thing as us growing up with basketball and football and like our major and baseball, our major national sports, and the point of pride that we have for these sports. So like when the Olympics come around and the NBA players go and play like the Dream Team, the Redeem Team, and all these guys, like there is for me a major point of pride watching them play.
And a lot of expectation too, because if they don't dominate, it's like, what happened, guys?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Massive expectations on them.
Right.
So I get,
which has to be what like France feels, for the
for the World Cup. Yeah, because they're so good.
Yeah.
And I only know that because somebody told me that.
Well, they won the last one, so
that's what I'm told.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know, but I believe you when you say that, and I believed her when she said it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the same thing is like if you're a repeat or a returning champion, rather, there's a major point of pride and a major expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you on your performance and how well you're going to do. So there's that weighs heavy, I'm sure, on like the fan base and on. I mean, it's just like it's one of those things. It's just like being an American really insulates you to the rest of the world, and nothing exemplifies that more than the World Cup.
Sure.
Because the Olympics, at least we have things in the Olympics that we dominate every 4 years, every 2 years. We dominate certain categories. And so Americans pay attention to the Olympics. But the World Cup is literally a thing for like most casual Americans to just pay attention to when it comes around. And you have no idea. Like you look at some of the contracts of some of these guys, the money that they make, the global influence that they have. Like so people will be like, who are the most famous athletes? And you say, well, LeBron James obviously is the most famous athlete. Not even fucking close.
No.
Not even by a long shot.
Yeah.
Not even even by a fucking. I mean, he's not even sniffing Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar, dude. Those three, like the Cerberus of popular sports figures. It's just like it's not even fucking close.
Incredible.
But we're so. I'm speaking on behalf of all stupid Americans.
Right.
We're so insulated. We're so just surrounded by what we believe. When you look at like Forbes lists of the highest paid athletes and you go, how is Patrick Mahomes, for instance, he's the best quarterback in football. How is he like number 40 or 50? And you see all these soccer players ahead of him.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? How is that even possible?
Right.
It's because we have no. It's our ignorance. It's a nationwide ignorance.
We ignore what we're not good at.
Yes, exactly.
I think
exactly.
I think that's what's been happening.
Yeah.
So
exactly. If we're not dominating it, we're just like, whatever.
who cares? Stupid sport.
And then once we start dominating it, that's when we're like, hey man, you seen what?
Yeah.
That's what it just becomes part of like the casual conversation. Because the thing is, when you turn on ESPN, for instance, you get bits and pieces of the World Cup. For instance, you get like, oh, that was a cool play. Oh, that guy did something cool. But the conversation, the sports conversation, is dominated by American sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The storylines, and not just the stuff that they do on the field or on the court, but off.
Yeah.
Those stories dominate the sports media.
The personalities and
So the type of shit that like Messi gets into or Ronaldo gets into, and again, excuse my ignorance, those are the names that like those are the only names that I can think of off the top of my head. The stuff that they get into is like they have to do, like when Messi got into that shit with his taxes a couple years ago. That was nationwide news, and that was all over ESPN for like, I don't know, a week maybe, because it was such a big story that it had to be discussed. But once the shit was over with, we go back to regularly scheduled programming.
They're not paying attention to the Premier League.
No, we're barely even paying attention to MLS, and it's right here in our fucking backyard.
Yeah. So
I think I will take 90% of the fault for not being more on top of FIFA and just football in general. But I'm gonna push a little bit of blame to the American sports media and say it's kind of their fault too.
Sure.
If I follow ESPN and Bleacher Report and all these different, like if soccer was more in my face as to the heroics of some of these guys on a week-to-week basis instead of just the World Cup, I'd probably pay a little bit more attention to it.
Or at very least understanding the mechanics of it and what's important, what's a good play, what each position is supposed to be doing, because that's so much of it. You know? It's so much of it just to be like, oh, that was a great pass. That was a great tackle.
Yeah.
Oh, they set that up perfectly. Even if they don't score, like, oh, man, like they were running on that.
Yeah.
That stuff keeps you engaged, whereas anyone else who's not on that level or doesn't understand the way the game's played could look at that and be like, yeah, this is guys running around kicking a ball.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care until there's like a really cool score. And
same way in which people watch the UFC and go just laying on top of each other. I don't understand.
Sure.
So I do want to pay more attention to it.
Yeah.
I feel like right now we're in a pretty good position because America is still in it.
Yeah. Somehow.
And there's still some fun teams to pay attention to.
Yeah. We're playing the Netherlands next.
France is still in it. The Netherlands should be a good game, I'm told. There's still some Latin countries.
Of course.
Guys like you or whatever.
For the Latins, yeah.
For the Latins.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to say Spanish countries. They're not Spanish countries.
They're not Spanish.
They're Hispanic countries? Latin America? Latin America.
Latin.
Latin America.
Just say Latin.
I was right the first time.
You were. You miscorrected yourself.
You made me feel like I was saying something I'd turned.
They can be Hispanic countries, but Latin's a wider net.
I was trying to cast a very wide net.
Okay, well then Latin's the one.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's very many left.
Yeah.
Brazil's still in it,
But
from what I'm told. So, we got a lot more World Cup left, baby.
We do.
And I feel like, let's stay on top of this. Let's check back in.
All right.
Let's check back in on some World Cup stuff.
Yeah, I am. I recently moved, which you guys don't know, but I did recently move. That involved.
We talked about it.
Oh, right.
That's
right,
why we're doing all this shit.
Right, because of this. So I, in that move, decided to cut my cable because it was originally wrapped into my other apartment, which it's not in this one, obviously, the new one. So I went and got me just a regular antenna to get basic channels.
Nice.
World Cup's on there all the time.
Oh.
That's why I've been so engaged. So
okay.
out of sheer necessity, I've been paying attention a bit more than I think I would have.
Okay.
Otherwise.
Didn't realize. I'm
Yeah.
gonna hook that up and be able to pay attention.
Yep.
A little bit more attention to it.
It's on there.
All right.
Usually at strange times of the day, and I've taken this entire week off for my birthday. So during the day, they often play. You can watch.
I thought you were gonna rhyme again. During the day, they often play. All right, Mr. Seuss.
Mr. Seuss?
Well, I mean, you're still working on your doctorate.
All right.
That's all I'm saying. You're still in school for it.
I'll accept that.
You know, you got to keep working on it.
All right.
Keep cracking at it. You got to
Thank you.
defend that thesis.
I got 2 bars. That's it. As far as I go.
All right. So we're gonna check back in when next week and see where we're at, and we'll let you guys know.
Indeed.
All right. It's now time for something that we lovingly have patent pending. It's a little bit of a trailer trash.
Trailer trash.
All right,
Had a
guys.
little tonal difference. I like that. Wah, wah.
All right, you guys know what it is.
Nope.
Trailer trash, where we just go through some of the trailers, movies, games. Actually, it's just movies and games, really,
Pretty much.
for the most part.
Yeah.
But all trailers and we
TV shows.
see, you know,
Do
TV shows.
Yeah.
And we see how we feel about these trailers and what they are giving to us, what they're telling to us, what can we expect with some of this stuff. Trash, not trash.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. First and foremost, Cocaine Bear.
Yes.
Cocaine Bear.
Yeah. I heard about this movie pretty long time ago.
Really? 'Cause
Yeah.
it is news to me, man.
I-
That trailer came out and I was like, oh, is this something I'm supposed to be excited about? I had no idea that this was happening.
I heard about it a while ago. Like I think probably when it was still in production, I was like, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Let's see what Cocaine Bear does. And
See what he does.
so yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, Cocaine Bear took over Twitter essentially, and I got re-engaged and all jazzed up. At first, it was just stills from the movie, just showing the bear. It's like, that's enough for me. I'm down. Let's see it. And then the trailer came out, and I mean, it looks like exactly what it promises. It's a bear on cocaine.
Yeah.
The tone of it seems light but violent.
Light but violent.
It seems like a bit of a horror comedy,
Yeah.
kind of leaning more towards the comedy,
Yeah.
at least from the trailer.
Very Snakes on a Plane.
Yes, it evokes vibes of Snakes on a Plane for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think? As someone who came in completely blind to Cocaine Bear.
I mean, it's... excuse me. We're in this weird era of movies where these movies are just getting, like... It's weird what bubbles above the surface.
Yeah.
You know? And I know a lot has been made of how movies are marketed nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was that one movie from Disney that is going to lose like $100 million. It's an animated movie. Excuse me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like it was like their first gay lead in a movie, first outwardly gay lead, because there was a lot of fucking gay people in fucking Disney movies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I feel like there's a first every like 6 months.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was the first gay lead in a Disney movie.
Okay.
And the movie, I mean...
It's like about a family, right?
I mean,
like the Weirds or something
dude,
like that?
to the point, I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't... It just didn't latch on to any cell in my brain long enough for me to
No.
really, really care. But that's... a lot of people are chalking that up to bad marketing, and not just bad marketing, but intentionally bad marketing. That these films are not getting the same energy that they deserve because of the content of the movies. And they turn around and say, you see, a quote-unquote woke movie won't work in 2022.
Right. Strange World.
Strange World.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, like, well, if you give them the same opportunity that you gave any other film, the same marketing budget that you gave any other Disney movie or Pixar movie, then you can judge it more equally. Yeah. But when you just throw it out there and only have social media marketing and think like, oh, well, see, the movie is a fucking flop and we'll never do a movie like this again.
Right.
With Cocaine Bear,
getting back to the subject at hand,
it kind of speaks for itself, I think. It's kind of hard to really be confused about what this movie's about.
Yeah.
The best thing I think with the trailer was that it was based on a true story, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
That they're like, we've officially hit the bottom of the barrel, and movie studios are like just looking at that. It's just ripped from the headlines movies like fucking Law and Order,
right?
And they're like, this is a crazy enough. So I mean, A24 has done a couple of like ripped from the headlines or ripped from Twitter kind of movies, and I think that is the biggest selling point of the movie, and that's something that maybe they need to kind of push a little bit more, is that it's based on a true story. Because if it was just some guy who was like, all right, a bear and he does cocaine,
he does this,
then I don't think that it sells itself as much as knowing that this actually happened in real life and they're just doing some goofy movie about it. So at first glance, I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm into it.
Okay.
It's the same thing with like Snakes on a Plane. Like when that movie came out, or when it was coming out, people were like, "What's the movie about?" Snakes on a Plane. What's it called? Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's it. And it's like, yeah. Who's in it? Samuel L. Jackson. You're like, oh, okay.
Okay, I'm in.
I mean, I don't really have any other. What more do you need to tell somebody? You know. And with this, you know, it doesn't have like the huge name. I mean, Ray Liotta, God rest his soul,
yeah,
is in it, and he looks like he's you know, doing his thing.
He's doing something.
He's doing something
in it.
Who else was this? Ray Liotta and
the guy from TikTok,
the TikTok comedian.
Yeah.
Who took that one thing and parlayed that into an entire career. Good for him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm with it. Fuck it, I'm with it.
Okay.
What about you? What do you think?
They showed entirely too much in the movie.
I agree with that.
I will say that.
That's for sure. But how? I mean, what are you waiting for, an M. Night Shyamalan twist in Cocaine Bear?
Doesn't matter. I already know the end.
Yeah,
it's a true story. You won't. I'll show you off air what happened at the end of Cocaine Bear in real life. Spoilers.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, as far as the tone and how goofy and dumb it looks, I'm on board. I think that's the way to go about Cocaine Bear. So I'm not sure if I'll go see it in theaters, but the trailer definitely made me excited to watch it at some point, at least streaming.
So trash?
Like not trash. Seems like a good time. Yeah.
I keep forgetting. Jesus Christ! What these fucking trailers?
The mean one.
The mean one. Now is Dr. Seuss public?
No. Public domain? No.
So where are they getting off making this movie?
I don't know. I actually looked this up, and The Grinch is not public domain. So I don't know how this movie was made, considering The Grinch, I think, is still a Universal property.
Yeah.
So unless like they gave Universal money to make it, which would explain why it seems like it was made with no money. Because it all went to just licensing out the character.
Yeah.
I don't know how this movie was made.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as like that Santa Claus movie that just came out with David Harbour.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Except for Santa Claus, I think, is public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a character. It's like just a character.
He's just a guy.
No one owns Santa Claus.
Yeah. And there's the trailer for the mean one is The Grinch if it was a straight up horror movie, basically. Mm-hmm. And they're not the citizens of Whoville, they're the citizens of Newville. They're trying to make it a little bit more realistic. And what do you think of that one?
No, I'm not into it. I'm definitely not into it.
No, yeah.
It just looks so cheap. It looks
like
shit.
Slapped
together. I mean, it just feels like they're not trying at all. It reminds me of like what we've seen of the Winnie the Pooh horror movie coming out. Like it's just like,
I think that movie's already out, by the way. I think we could watch that one.
Okay, well maybe we'll suffer through that. But I mean, just
instead of watching Barry Lyndon, we'll watch.
Yeah, we'll just same.
Same.
Yeah, no, I just every like frame of that movie just felt like it was slapdash together, not in a good way.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised if it was good.
Yeah.
But
it looks like shit.
Whatever.
Not trash.
Trash.
I mean, obviously, just still had to ask.
Yeah.
And then last, but certainly not least, and the reason that I didn't give you guys a warning is because you knew where we would go with this. The Super Mario Brothers trailer. We finally got a full trailer for the Super Mario Brothers animated film that is coming out with a star-studded cast featuring
Jack Black,
Seth Rogen, Charlie Day,
Chris Pratt.
I was waiting for Chris Pratt, but
okay. Anya Taylor.
Chris Pratt, and a host of others.
Yeah, Keegan-Michael
Key. We finally get a nice audio glimpse of everybody's performances, not just Jack Black and not just a snippet of Chris Pratt. We get pretty much everybody that we're going to be listening to. Mm-hmm. And really, if we're being all the way 100, that's all people really care about. Sure. They want to know the vocal performances of these characters who they have grown up with. If you're somebody who's going to go and see this movie in theaters, you are going by yourself, you're going with your friends, or you're taking your kids.
Yeah.
But you are a person who, nobody's going into this blind. Nobody saw, no one in this country.
Who is Super Mario?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everyone is going into it with their own preconceived notions.
Sure.
And the voices, that's the most important thing about this movie. Could be a load of dog shit plot wise.
Yeah.
But if the vocal performances, the voice acting is good, people will forgive it.
Say also it has to visually look good too, as we've seen with Sonic.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And when you get an actor who can embody the character, like, forgot his name, the comedian who is the voice of Sonic.
Yes.
I think he's fantastic. Jean-Ralphio. The worst. He's amazing as Sonic. It works. And then you get fucking Idris Elba to play Knuckles. And then, in a bit of fan service, instead of looking for some, big name actress or actor to come in and play Tails, they just go and got the original voice actor. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how it's done. And that's why those movies are so good. They are legitimately, and have you watched them yet?
No.
They are legitimately good movies.
Yeah. Okay.
Just good, down home, family entertainment.
Okay.
But this trailer, I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I'm a little bit, I would say it didn't do anything for me that the teaser did. Or didn't do. Yeah. So I don't feel like I needed it. That being said, it didn't upset me in any way. It was just kind of on par with what I was expecting for this movie to be after the teaser.
Yeah.
Which it looks great. I think visually it looks great, and it's cool that they have like homages to the games and stuff. And there's very clearly like Toad's Treasure Tracker and Mario Kart, and like those things are really cool. Smash Bros. Yeah. All those little nods are definitely cool to see, because it seems like, okay, well, it seems like fans made this movie, which is always a good sign.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I am not disappointed in any way. It didn't blow my socks off, but I think it looks pretty good still.
Yeah.
I'm still excited for it. I'm going to say not trash.
Okay. What about Chris Pratt's voice? We have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. We do.
Look. Here's the thing. here's the thing. We've gone on record here saying leave Chris Pratt alone. Right?
Yeah.
I think he's in an unwinnable situation here with the Mario voice. Because, and mind you, I think it's kind of his own fault. Because of his whole, like, you know, social media rounds that he did before the trailer came out.
Definitely should have kept his mouth shut, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, where he's saying, like, oh, it's going to be something special,
Yeah,
you know.
You guys have no idea what I'm about to do with this shit.
Right, and it's like semi-New York Italian accent, like very lightly, mostly just Chris Pratt doing Chris Pratt. He shot himself in the foot with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I believe you could. I mean, you could, but I think the movie would suffer if you had a Charles Martinet style Wahoo kind of voice the entire time through. Unless, like, that's all he said was, like, his little quips.
Right.
But other than that, like, in order to give a full range of emotion and you know, character, I think you kind of need more than that in a motion picture.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately. I love Charles Martinet's Mario depiction, obviously. It's what I grew up on. But I just think being realistic with it, you need a more even-keeled performance and something that has more nuance and you know, can be more than just a caricature that I feel like Mario has always been, which has been fine for the video games.
Yeah.
But for a movie, you need more.
Yeah. I'll say the trailer itself, not trash. It does get me a little excited to see what they're going to do with the actual movie because it looks in the same vein of like smart, quippy, modern animated comedies where it's kind of self-referential and you know,
Wreck-It Ralphie.
Yeah, and they make jokes where you're like, that's the obvious joke, but it's funny. I'm going to give it to you. Like the moment where like the Toads, not Toad himself, but like the other ones, they're like, what can we do? We're adorable.
Yeah.
It's funny. And it's just like, it's obvious. It's an obvious joke, but it's funny.
Sure. It works.
I will push back a little bit on Chris Pratt and what he could and couldn't have done. Number one, he could have said no. And an actor turning down such a high-profile job is blasphemy.
Sure.
And yet, I think he should have.
Yeah.
If all he was going to do is what we've heard so far, he should have said no.
Yeah.
And that's his ego. That's the hubris of being a successful A+ actor. You need to keep your spot. And when somebody offers you something like this, you either go all the way or you don't do it at all.
Sure.
And for me, I think he's half-assing it. I think like he's playing it safe with all the shit. Again, like you said, he brought up on social media and all this stuff, like trying to hype up, drum up interest in his performance. When he got cast, people were like, "I thought it was fake casting." When it came out, we thought it was fake.
When it was the full cast list, it's like, what?
Yeah, it was like, these are some of the biggest names in Hollywood. How is Chris Pratt Mario? It has to be fake. This can't be real.
Yeah.
And then you find out that it is real, and you're like, okay, well, you know, I like Chris Pratt. Let's see what he can do with it. I mean, I've seen his voice acting work before. It's either like higher pitched, more excited, or not, but it's still just Chris Pratt.
Sure.
He's not going to do that again, right? Wrong. He's going to be sort of New York Italian, kind of, I guess. We'll see how long he actually holds on to the accent throughout the movie. Yeah, no, I don't think that I think if his performance crashes and burns, I think it's all on him. I really do. I think that he could have tried harder, or he could have said no and let a more accomplished voice actor or somebody who could pull the more embody the character than he could. Yeah. Because what about Chris Pratt? I mean, these studios, I mean, think about it. For real. What about him, other than his status in Hollywood right now, got him the job? Well, there's no way he auditioned for that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is his current spot in the spotlight as Chris Pratt, the movie star. You know, it's going to put butts in seats. They know that. And, you know, I think if I'm being less cynical here, It's because he has such an everyman's voice that's what they're looking for their main character. Like they were for the Lego movie, you know? Like,
but he's perfect in the Lego movie because of that character.
Sure.
He embodies that character.
Yeah.
He's the everyman, but he's also this like joyous, optimistic, naive,
yeah.
but fully there's just something so like welcoming about his performance in that movie, and that's what ties the whole thing together. He's the straight man with all these characters around him, but Mario's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the fucking
Yeah.
guy.
Right.
You need him to anchor the whole thing, and all these other wild performances around him is fine, but at the end of the day, like, it's Mario, baby.
He's
Like,
Super Mario.
he's Super Mario.
Yeah.
And to just be like, wahoo! Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? You don't have to base it on the original voice actor's performance, but you have to. It's the same thing as like the OG Mario movies with
Sure.
Bob Hoskins, right?
Yeah.
I think as insane and terrible as those movies are,
It's just one.
the one, yeah, right. It's not
Yeah.
like they
They
didn't get another
They
one.
wanted one. They
Yeah.
wanted there to be a sequel, but
Yeah,
it was
anyhow.
not. Yeah.
I'll tell you this. This isn't nostalgia, man. Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo embody those two characters.
Sure.
They
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
embody them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you have to either go in that direction with it, or you got to fully commit to doing the Mario thing that people know and love. But you can't do whatever the fuck Chris Pratt is doing.
safe. Very
Yeah.
safe. Yeah.
Go for it or don't is my thing. Go for it or don't. And I
Yeah.
feel like he's half-assing it, and I think he's going to pay, and the audience is going to pay, and Nintendo's going to pay, because then they're going to be like, oh, see, we can't make these fucking movies. It's like, nah, you can't make these fucking movies. Put these in the hands of more accomplished filmmakers,
Yeah.
say the people who made the Lego movies, and
I think they had. Dude, I think they may have something to do with this movie.
oh, then that's, I could see that in the writing,
Yeah. I think.
but,
Don't quote me on that. I know the movie is made by Illumination, right?
and they're the ones who made the Lego movies, right?
If there was only a way to know,
If there was only a way to know.
you guys let us know. But I don't feel like looking it up. That being said, I think you're right. I think he could have done more with it, but we'll have to see. I do think that it's going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to fail.
No.
I don't think there's any way that it fails.
I think it's smart to do an animated movie and not try to go live action again.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, so unanimous, not trash.
Yeah, it's not trash. It's not trash.
Yeah.
I mean, the teaser trailer I thought was really fun.
Yeah.
And I'll say this just for the record. I don't think what Chris Pratt is doing is bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the right word. It's not
Yeah.
bad. It ain't right.
Okay. It feels even worse.
Maybe it is worse. Maybe
Yeah.
it is worse. It's not bad,
Yeah.
but it just ain't right.
Okay.
It just it's like when you get like a different voice actor to table read over something, like when they get like a more famous voice actor to voice over like Batman movies or something like that, and you're like, oh, that's a fun thing.
Right.
It ain't right, but it's fun. I like
Yeah.
it. I get what they're doing with it. It ain't right,
Yeah.
but it's cool.
Yeah.
You know. So that's how I feel.
Okay.
It ain't right.
It ain't right.
It ain't right. All right.
All right.
Want to judge these beers?
What?
Want to judge these beers?
Excuse me?
Do you want to judge these beers?
I would like to, but we need to do a cheers of the week.
You goddamn right we do. All right. So, my friend, my love, my buddy, just crack open the last one. I gave the other one to Red Light so that they could taste it. So
I know, but I don't want to take the last one when this was your beer that you're presenting to the world.
Yeah. What is it?
But
You
I
know?
will. Okay.
All right.
All right. My cheers of the week goes to God of War Ragnarok.
Of course.
My friend, you bought me God of War Ragnarok for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing it ever since.
Of course, as one does.
I'm loyal. I don't want to beat a dead horse here because we talked about it last time. from your few hours in, and it is just an excellent game, top to bottom. Like, I have very little complaints about it so far. I'm about 5 hours in, and I'm just completely wrapped into what the story is and where it's gonna go.
What part are you at? No spoilers, but
I did a lot of the first side quests you get.
okay,
So-
yeah, of course you would.
Yeah, I'm still hanging out with the dwarves.
Okay,
And
Okay.
I've unshackled a beast.
okay, all right. I know where you're at.
Yeah,
I know where you're at.
and I'm looking for a guy. That's all I'm saying.
Looking for a guy.
I'm looking for my man. Yeah. So so far, the story's excellent. The performances are excellent. I'm totally in, 100% in. It's one of those games that like I'm waiting to just like kick my feet back on and just play for the next like 6 months or something. Like it's just I feel like it's one of those long hauls. That,
Apparently, it is pretty long haul.
Yeah, that I'm getting ready for.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because I also bought Elden Ring when it was on sale.
Yep. Nobody
So,
told you to do that.
I'm not playing it until I beat God of War Ragnarok.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. So, because I know what those two different play styles is gonna mess me up.
Yeah, it'll fuck you up.
Yeah. So, I have no complaints so far. I love it. Thank you. And
my pleasure.
that's all I'm gonna say until I beat it and you beat it, and then we can have a review discussion.
Oh yeah, and that'll be honestly probably the whole pod.
Yeah, spoiler cast. We
Yeah.
can do a spoiler cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My cheers of the week is going to you.
Oh.
Yes. It was your birthday a couple days ago. What's today? The 30th?
Yep.
Now it's the 30th. No, it's only 10:30. A couple of days ago. And we went out, we did Top Golf. We drank, we were merry. We had a whole thing. It was a great time.
Watched UCF barely win.
Barely win.
But
They won.
to a terrible USF team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they did it.
They did.
They did it.
I screamed.
Yes.
Sherry tried to keep me quiet. I would not be.
She was embarrassed.
I would not be detained.
This is what happens when you can't be with like a sports fan.
No.
No.
It's
At some point. I mean, dude, if let alone a girlfriend, even if I had like you in the same room as me when like I'm destroying my controller or like my headset or something because of like something that doesn't go my way in a video game. It's like, it's a funny story, but it's also a little embarrassing to think like I smashed a $50 piece of equipment because I was so angry about it.
Sure, yeah. I have no shame. I have no shame in that.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game.
It's part of the game.
Part of the
baby.
game, baby.
Yeah.
So.
But no, 33rd trip around the sun, 34th trip around the sun.
Yeah.
That's right, 34th. Whew, man.
We're
Are
hitting
you ready to retire?
We're hitting those mid-30s, baby. My back's hurting more. Sweating a lot more for some reason.
Yeah.
You know.
It's just it's 34.
Hair's slowly getting more and more gray.
Sweat comes with being 34. You know, it is what it is.
Yikes.
So my cheers to you, my friend. I love you. I'm glad we're doing this show. Glad we're continuing to do this show. Glad you were able to make it 34 rotations around the sun. And I'm glad you're here with me. So
Thank you. Yes, I love you too, and I appreciate you joining me. And even though we didn't go to the arcade like I wanted to, it's okay.
It was too late. Honestly, though,
I love everyone's face. It was my favorite bringing up. I told everyone after the game, after we watched the UCF game. So, about the arcade, we all said it was way too expensive to go to. And literally everyone went,
it's tough. It's tough.
I don't think so.
I mean, listen, it's too much.
It
It's
is
too
too
much.
much.
It's
It is
too
too
much to be part of the night. It has to be the night.
Yeah.
I'll go there and I'll drink a bunch of beer while I'm there, play a bunch of video games.
It's got to be the thing, though.
It's got to be the thing.
I agree. I was being greedy.
Yeah.
Just seemed nice. Seemed like a fun time.
It would have been. I know. Yeah, if one person would have been like, whatever, fuck it. But if we all like consensus didn't even look at each other, we just were like,
immediately, everyone in the party went.
I mean, that door price, doggies, like it's just, or if that door price was just a little more inexpensive.
Sure.
It's just,
you cut the door price in half.
Cut it in half.
Be in there.
Yeah.
Be in there.
And I think that, I don't know, man. I don't know what it takes to run a barcade. I mean, know that like
clearly they're successful.
That's true. That's true.
They've expanded to like 4 locations now.
And clearly that $20 is not a deterrent to anybody.
No, they're constantly packed. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's okay. So it's a $20 fee. We're getting very inside baseball right now. It's
Arcade Monsters.
Arcade Monsters
like
in Oviedo specifically. They have other ones across Florida. $20 per head, plus obviously if you want to buy food and drinks.
Yeah.
You know, I just think if it was $10, you get more people. But at $20, like you're saying, it has to be the whole night.
Yeah.
You got to be there for at least 2 hours.
Yeah, just to make it worth it.
To make your money's worth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like the games are free once you pay, but again, I wouldn't feasibly spend $20 in an arcade unless I was going to be there for a couple hours.
No, there's no universe. Even when I was a kid, even in my prime arcade years, would I spend $20? I would feel.
You got to think about inflation, though. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
I mean, even still, I just can't imagine $20 whole dollars. If my mom gave me $20 and said, "Go nuts," I still would be like,
"You'd buy it.
Hold on to this."
You'd buy a single CD at FYE.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Hey, man, Infernal Affairs, Feral Munch debut album. I hesitated, and now I can't buy it. It's out of print. Now it's like $40, $50 for a CD.
Yeah.
Should have bought it when I saw it. I had it in my hands, and it was only $20, and I said, that's a little too much for a CD.
Yeah.
Didn't buy it. I'm 32 years old. Don't own it.
Living with regrets.
Living with regrets.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Anyway.
Let's review these beers and get the fuck out.
What else we got is these beers.
These brewskis. So we are doing the Lowland Hellas Style Lager from Whippoorwill and our friends at Sideward Brewing. It's a collaboration. 4.5 ABV.
That's right.
Obi, what you think?
I mean, it tastes what it looks like and what they claim it to be. It's a very drinkable. It still has good flavor, well balanced. I feel like there's a little bit of malt, a little bit of bitter that balances it out pretty well. But it's not overpowering. It's still a beer that you really can have for any occasion. That being said, wouldn't be a go-to for me. I would say I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I think it goes for what it does what it's going for. I should say. So that's kind of the highest accolade I can give it. Yeah. Very drinkable. You can kind of have it at any time. It's light, won't get you messed up, but it's still flavorful enough for you to feel like you're having something tasty on your palate.
All right. Excuse me. I am going to give it a 5. For some of the same reasons, but I will defer from you a little bit, and I will say that I probably would go for this later on. If I saw this on draft, or if there was cans of it somewhere, I would know at least that I'm getting one of these. This would be my starter pack. Like if I knew, like, oh, okay, we're gonna be doing some drinking tonight. Sure. I saw the Lowland somewhere. Like I'm gonna start with that and get the party started with that. I know what I'm getting. Nice solid flavor, nice well balanced lager. Do love a Hellas style.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm gonna give it a 5.
I respect it.
All right. You think we got it?
I know we got it.
Well, then let's get the fuck out of here. This has been the One Beer In Podcast. For myself, Marco Dupa. For Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you guys for listening. Drink delicious beer and have yourself a beautiful evening.
We love you.